arkadaşlar başlıyoruz. Peki monetization sektörünün anlatımından so why should an
Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing well and safe. I am Göksu, Head of Growth at AdColony in Turkey. Today I and Adam will discuss several topics about the gaming industry, game monetization and user acquisition. Hi Adam, welcome. Could you please introduce yourself as well?
Hi Göksu, thanks for having me. I am the GM of FairBid here at Fyber. It's Fyber's mediation product. Been in the industry for about 8 years. Spent the past 3 years laser focused on building a transparent marketplace underpinned by standards-based programmatic trading. I've got experience across all facets of the in-app ad tech business, across the publisher-facing aspects and advertiser-facing aspects. My current role allows me the privilege of working with all of our internal teams across all of our customer-facing, sales, support, product, marketing, as well as our executive team to help influence and deliver the best possible customer experience we can provide. And worked closely with AdColony in the past, so excited to be here having this conversation with you.
Thank you very much, Adam. We know that it has been tough days due to pandemic, but we will overcome this issue hopefully and get back to our normal lives very soon, I believe. So we thought that giving some updates about the game industry and monetization during this time might be beneficial for you. So let me begin with about the mobile gaming industry in Turkey. If you are somehow interested in mobile gaming, you might have heard about Peak, a Turkish casual gaming company actually, has acquired by Zynga for $1.88 billion. This is a unicorn for all of us. Also, there was another acquirement last year, which was between Masoma and Miniclip. These types of exits definitely will affect our country positively. So we are assuming that our Z generation will be much more focused on mobile gaming marketing. Actually, this focus has already started for hyper-casual genre. So for the ones who are not familiar with hyper-casual, I can easily explain like this. Hyper-casual games are lightweight games with simple mechanics that offer instant gameplay, literally tap to play. So the popularity of hyper-casual games comes from their ability to reach different audiences, from the 19-year-old young man to 52-year-old mother. Everyone finds something in these games. So we have many famous hyper-casual studios in Turkey, such as Rolik, Ruby, Alectus, Good Job Games, etc. So each of their titles is definitely in the top charts in the USA. So they're almost 2 years old companies and playing with millions by making user acquisition, campaigns, and monetization. So when the words come to user acquisition and monetization, I would like to emphasize that where AdColony stands for, and would like to hear your comments about FairBid, Adam, afterwards. So let me begin with AdColony. You know that AdColony is one of the biggest ad networks in the world, and we are here to help our advertisers to reach a large scope of audience. Of course, it is important to supply them meaningful data and understand the behavior of users in order to have sustainable relationships. When it comes to monetization, we are helping our publishers to maximize their earnings by running our best performing campaigns on their ad placement. To make our monetization tool more profitable for our publishers, we are almost updating our product by following mobile marketing trends. For example, as Adam mentioned, as Adam already mentioned it. For example, bidding is very popular on the monetization side nowadays. Right now, everyone in the market evolves their strategies towards bidding, where AdColony is early adopters of this technology actually with FairBid, and the other very well known mediators. By saying that, I am giving my words to Adam. I believe that he will be mentioning about bidding and FairBid in detail.
Yeah, like I said before, we've worked closely with AdColony over the past few years, especially on this specific bidding product. I think the industry is well aware at this point that there is a lot of momentum towards programmatic transactions and away from waterfall-based transactions. I want to emphasize that AdColony has been at the vanguard of making this a reality. We started this conversation with AdColony back in 2017 amongst a number of our other partners. And there were very few networks at the time who were both technically capable and had the strategic vision to understand that this was going to be a extremely important part of where the market went over the next couple of years. I was really lucky to find in AdColony a partner that was able to work really closely with us on the design and development, both of the technology as well as the business model that we use to deliver this. And over the past year or so, we've really seen a sharp uptick in activity with this model. I think that when I look at the metrics in our system, nearly all of AdColony spending has started to move towards programmatic at this point, as have the spending of some of our other leading partners who are working with bidding. And what it's yielded is, I think the thing that I'm most appreciative of is a real alignment of interests between the publishers, the ad networks, and us as the mediators. And it's really brought us all into the same page in terms of the value that we can deliver to the customers being the publishers in this case. And it's allowed us to do so with a level of transparency and trust that had been absent before this. So when I say this, I really am emphasizing the fact that we've seen the publisher community have a lot of questions about how both ad networks and how mediation layers work, how we're deciding who should get the opportunity to provide an ad at any given moment, who has the highest price, as well as deciding what revenue gets passed to the publisher. The transition to programmatic allows us to capture all of this data in a format that is shared and generally accepted in terms of the open RTB standards. And so everybody knows exactly the inputs and exactly the outputs of this system. We're able to catalog and present this data to publishers in a way that was impossible with waterfall data previous to that. And the benefit, I think, to publishers here has been that it's driven a lot more competition for them. So that's raised the prices or the CPMs that they're receiving for their inventory. It's driven, like I said, a lot more transparency and understanding how the system is built and how it works and how the decisions are being made. And it's allowed them to start to trust, I think, our segment of the industry a lot more. For AdColony and for other networks that are participating in this, it's allowed them broad access to a market. So previously what we found is ad networks were stuck somewhere in the waterfall, and they were stuck based on the amount of conversation they could have and the amount of pushing they could have with the publisher to get them to make manual changes inside of their waterfall system. Every publisher has an upward limit in terms of time and ability to kind of do everything that ad networks are asking them to do. So there was an inability to truly optimize the market in the most appropriate way. And so what we've seen here is that networks that have moved into this space, they don't need to ask publishers to make changes every day. They don't need to negotiate based on price. They don't need to argue for why they shouldn't be in position 3 in the waterfall. They just need to bid at a high price. That's all. So it takes a lot of that work away from interaction with the publisher and trying to influence them to manage the waterfall in certain ways, and puts it on your technology team to actually be able to deliver budgets in the most efficient way possible.
Yeah, and also it decreases also man work as well for monetization sites.
Exactly. Yeah, it's taken a lot of the work that was this manual configuration work and allowed us to focus a lot more of that time on how to build the right product. And what we've seen is a lot of success. We've seen a lot of adoption here. We've seen that I think we're in a stage right now where we've just gotten past the question of, is this actually better than the waterfall? Does it deliver higher CPMs than the waterfall? I think the answer is a resounding yes. I think we've had awesome amounts of data collected across the industry, across platforms, across networks that are bidding in this manner, delivered via case studies with rigorous measurements showing that there are increases of anywhere between 10 to 30% in ARPDAU. And ARPDAU, I think, is also the thing that we can actually start measuring here in a meaningful way. Previously, I think the entire industry was a little bit eCPM obsessed. And we've been able to de-emphasize the focus on that metric and emphasize ARPDAU as a metric that can truly compare apples to apples. And what we've seen is that, like I said, a resounding yes, this system works. I think the next question that the whole industry is asking is, well, when will the laggards join? When will the ad networks who are not bidding today actually start bidding? Because that truly opens the door to a future in which manual waterfall optimization is not something that everybody spends most of their time on.
So, Adam, how do you see the demand landscape changing with the increased adoption of programmatic?
Sure, good question. What we've seen over the past year or so is a bit of a meteoric rise in the performance DSP space. And what we've seen is that budgets that are coming into the mediation space outside of the ad network channels have finally started to be able to compete. The reason that can happen is that FairBid and to some degree other programmatic-based mediation platforms actually allow DSPs now, or demand-side platforms, to start buying at the same level as ad networks. Previously, DSPs were stuck somewhere behind a series of middlemen, particularly behind ad networks. Enabling those DSPs to come out from behind the ad networks and compete on the mediation layer allows us to remove a middleman fee, so they no longer have to have two nodes between the DSP and the publisher. Two, it's allowed the auction to really be driving the revenue decisions rather than a waterfall. DSPs had no influence over waterfall decisions because DSPs don't have direct publisher relationships. And so this has allowed budgets that had the ability to compete, but not the relationships to compete, the ability to compete based on merit or based on price. And so what we're starting to see is this positive flywheel effect for DSPs, where they're able to access more inventory at the top level, at the same level that ad networks are able to access them. They're able to be extremely competitive on price because DSPs have put a lot of investment into the ability to price a specific piece of inventory and to deliver an ad to that piece of inventory. And so budgets can be very, very effectively deployed through DSPs. And we've seen an increased awareness from the publisher perspective about programmatic buyers being able to buy very effectively.
So as we discussed our relationship at the beginning, so in my opinion, we have really good relationship with Fyber and between Fyber and AdColony. So Adam, what do you think? What might be the next, and how we can proceed? I mean.
Sure. Yeah, I think what we've seen over the past few months is a deeper focus from many of our partners, but AdColony in particular, on taking the programmatic integrations that we have today and starting to add a lot more depth to how you're working with the platforms like Fyber, FairBid here. I think that we've seen a increased amount of investment from AdColony in programmatic. I think that when we started this conversation a couple of years ago, and when we initially started going to market, it was a bit of a bet that hopefully this would work out. I think there was still some hesitance across the market to truly invest in this model. But what we've seen, because of the success and the traction and the growth that the publishers have seen from it, that there is an appetite from our partners like AdColony to continue investing. What we've seen, we work closely with your product team, with Kelly McAvoy in Seattle. We work closely with your publisher team, led by David Pokras in LA, and there's a constant feedback loop between that team and the respective team on our side as well, and that feedback loop has driven a faster feedback process. It's driven a faster product process. It's seen, I think, increased focus on what you guys need to build inside of your SDK to be delivering budgets effectively via programmatic. In particular, I think that you've seen increased investment in the DSP type models that you're working with in terms of how to find the right user, how to deploy the budgets effectively. I think this month we're seeing a pretty significant updates to a lot of the AdColony tech, both in the SDK and the bidder side. So hopefully we start to see increased ARPDAU being driven by that, which is great to see. And so I think, like I said before, a lot of incentives have started to be aligned between the publisher, the ad networks, and and DSPs, or so publishers, buyers, and the for all intents and purposes, we're an SSP platform or a supply side platform. The incentives being aligned allow us to have a much deeper relationship with regards to product development, much faster feedback cycle, and allows us to focus on what the publisher community wants and how to develop for it in partnership. Whereas before we really were focused on this kind of programmatic experience, those incentives were very much less clearly aligned, if aligned at all. A lot more competitive, a lot more driven by specifically a focus on the SSP margin. I think one of the big differences that FairBid brings to the table is that we don't have a direct sold business. We don't go to advertisers and say, hey, advertise with us. And so we don't have this conflict of interest where we're competing with our partners to get budgets into our system. I think when you look at our competitors, you find that they do have those conflicts. They do have an incentive that says, how can I sell more of my demand to increase my margin? Whereas our incentive is, how do we build, our incentive as Fyber is, how do we build the appropriate marketplace to deliver the highest amount of publisher revenue from our demand partners? We're focused on the mechanics of transactions, right? We're not focused on selling IOs to advertisers and taking that money into our system and deploying it. We're focused on other people who are doing that and allowing them to do it the most efficiently and the most effectively to raise to pass along the most amount of money to publishers.
Can we say that you are trying to be really fair?
That's the goal. Our marketing team spends a lot of time trying to understand exactly what our product did and where its value was, and that's why that word fair rose to the top.
Right. For AdColony, I mean, it is a good. I mean, it is definitely wonderful to be a partner of Fyber for FairBid, I mean. And also, I am not sure, maybe you have familiar with the cashless bidding, so that we are working on it right now because, for example, our product team is working on cashless bidding because at the beginning, when we were trying to be adapters on bidding side, we were only bidding what we cashed, for example, on our end. Right now, we had improved our product as we are doing right now cashless bidding for Android for 100%, and for our iOS we are trying to increase our percentage to be 100% live on iOS in cashless bidding, for example.
Yes, yeah, I think that's huge. I think when we look at the ability of SDK networks to actually deliver the ads that they're able to win on, yes, we've solved the transaction side. You're able to identify the value of an impression, put a competitive price into an auction for that impression, but then getting to ad delivery is the next step, right? And that's where clearly, AdColony has been investing a lot of their time. Cashless bidding is something that we've seen start to drive an increase in the metrics that we're measuring around this, it's something that, likewise, on our side, one of the things that we do with our SDK from the perspective of a DSP buyer who does not have an SDK is we're building out tools to enable those types of buyers to deliver the most effective ad unit, most effective creative to the publisher and to the end user. And clearly, you guys are focusing on similar parts of that. And it's great to see us kind of following these parallel paths of development.
Okay. So, for example, for my perspective of bidding is like this, Adam. So our publishers is definitely willing to switch their mediation as a bidding mode. For example, I know that there is a market pressure always, like from FairBid and the other very well known mediators, and the thing that the publishers are looking for, as you can imagine, is maximizing their earnings. So when they check, for example, they are doing many A/B testing on their end before switching totally to bidding side. For example, when they check the results for as you mentioned, ARPDAU and earnings, they realize that definitely bidding is much more valuable for them to use it. So, for example, this is that AdColony hasn't any mediation solution on our end. So what we are doing is only making user acquisition and monetization for our publishers. So, but definitely we would like to hear your comments about FairBid, how publishers are reacting on to you, for example, what they're asking for to improve, for example.
Sure. Yeah, it's good that you bring up A/B testing. I think this is something that the whole industry has really embraced as a way to become a whole lot more rigorous about testing the differences in monetization approaches. We've recently released a really powerful A/B testing tool that allows publishers to test not only two cases at 50% each of the difference in inventory, but up to 5 different variants on an approach to a waterfall with configurable percentages of traffic that they give to each. So, for example, you could have one control group and then 4 test groups. The 4 test groups can have anything from 1% to 20% or as much percent as you want of traffic. But it allows the publisher to de-risk tests by not putting 50% of their traffic towards a test, to test multiple different approaches at the same time, so speeding the feedback loop of testing rather than having to test one option for a few days and then another option for a few days. What we've seen is that publishers have really appreciated this ability to have this level of insight into what changes the impact on their own revenue. So this is something that we're extremely proud to release because we saw it as a real advancement in the tool set for the industry, whereas previously publishers could only test one option versus a second option, and having only 50% of each. Now they've got a lot more flexibility there. I think that tools like this that are allowing publishers the opportunity to configure pieces of their monetization stack that they previously weren't able to, in terms of saying, okay, I'm going to take a network and turn it from waterfall to bidding, or I'm going to add multiple tiers in for a network, or I'm going to start automating how we're configuring those tiers away from putting a static price to an automated predicted price on the mediation side. I think that this has driven a lot more engagement and quite frankly, a bit of a different skill set from the monetization teams that we work with. It's brought a lot more, like I said, rigor into their approach.
Thank you very much, Adam. It was very lovely and informative discussion with you. I guess we all understand where AdColony and FairBid stands for and what is next for bidding side as well. So thank you very much for your listening, guys. And please don't forget to subscribe our channel, like our videos, and listen our Spotify podcast. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Evet arkadaşlar başlıyoruz.
So why should an
Bir dakika. AdColony